Well, the ANC in Gauteng, we understand, is still locked in a meeting this afternoon to determine the fate of the suspended Health MEC, Dr. Bandile Masuku. News from Africa understands discussions have been heated over the findings of a Provincial Integrity Commission report that related to the procurement of personal protective equipment. Masuku's been cleared of any wrongdoing when it comes to the awarding of a 125 million rand PPE tender to Royal Barca, a company owned by the husband of the presidential spokesperson, Kusela Diko. Masuku and the Dikos are family friends. For more on the story, I'm joined in the studio by our senior politics reporter, Zianda Ngobo. She joins us now. Zianda, good afternoon to you. Okay, this meeting started yesterday, right? Yes. They're still at it.
They're still at it, Stephen, and we understand that yesterday it only ended at 11, and then it was reconvened this morning. And of course, this is just an indication of just how heated those discussions within the PEC have been. When we speak to people, some of the sources I've spoken to, the first thing I must say, Stephen, is that they've remained tight-lipped on what exactly is going on. But what one person did say to me is that whichever decision is concluded or reached, it is a lose-lose for the ANC provincial executive. But of course, Stephen, we know that they're deliberating over those findings by the Provincial Integrity Commission. And one of the key issues that's been a bone of contention is the fact that the PEC recommends that Bandile Masuku steps aside as MEC of Health in the province. Now, there is a debate to say that if you're going to say that there wasn't sufficient oversight, then that principle must then apply to Premier David Makhura, as I've heard. So that's the one strand of the issue. The second is, if you're going to deal with Masuku in that way, how do you then deal with Kusela Diko, who of course is at a national level, and she's been appointed, and so it's the issue of deployment versus, appointment, and so those are some of the key issues that have been deliberated on. But certainly the Gauteng Premier and the chairperson, being David Makhura, has certainly been placed in a difficult position in terms of what does he then do, because even if the decision on what to do with Masuku is placed squarely at his feet, it does still have political implications.
Okay, I mean, the political implications are all over the place.
Yeah.
You've got the NEC, the ANC's NEC decision 3 weeks ago, in fact,
yes,
today, saying that people who are implicated in corruption must step aside. If people are going to follow that, then Bandile Masuku must go, and so must Kusela Diko in her position as a member of the PEC in Gauteng. If they don't, they aren't following the NEC resolution.
Most certainly. They're not following the NEC resolution, but also Makhura himself has had to distance himself from corruption claims when linked to Hamilton and Ndlovu, for an example, the businessman who posted those luxury vehicles. But also, he's been talking tough on corruption. And the ANC, and especially leaders, always find themselves in a difficult position when someone deemed to be in their faction is now charged with corruption. So that's why I'm saying Makhura, people will be looking to Makhura to see what exactly he's going to do. But also, within the provincial executive, in terms of the balance of forces, it seems that those who are calling for Masuku to go and those who are saying he must stay, it's actually quite a tight race. And by all indications, if that meeting is still underway, it's quite an indication and it's an indictment on the level and the sensitivity of this matter and how it's handled going forward, because it will, of course, set a precedent, not only in Gauteng, but across the country, on how the ANC, and obviously the ANC being in government, is dealing with this corruption PPE scandal.
I suppose from what you're saying then, if Bandile Masuku doesn't go, if the decision is that he doesn't, Bongani Bongo is going to stay in his position in Parliament.
Most certainly, and I think the issue as well, Stephen, is that whole overreach that the ANC, some in the ANC in Gauteng have been saying the PEP, the Integrity Commission has had, but also the overreach that the ANC and the conflation that the ANC tends to have between party and state. And I think that is what they're trying to deliberate on, because if you say Bandile Masuku must step aside within the PEC, but he remains as MEC, who's deployed him to be Health MEC within the Gauteng government? So certainly, if he has to be removed as a PEC member, he must go then as Health MEC. But then what do you do of Kusela Diko? Because it seems that there's a difference in the way in which the matter needs to be handled, of course, by virtue of the fact that she's at a national level. But then what implications would that have for the president, both in his capacity as ANC president, but also as the head of the state?
Sure. What a complicated situation. So they were in a meeting until 11 last night. They're still at it now. We don't yet know when they're going to finish, and they're refusing to leak.
They're freezing to leak, Stephen. I've tried all morning. We've been waiting for this briefing to take place all day. I mean, it was meant to have concluded yesterday, and usually, we have the briefing on a Monday, around this time or even earlier at around 1 o'clock. There's still nothing, but people are responding, but they refuse to let anything leak, and I think the situation is quite volatile at this point in time.